Never fear, never fear. Here we are talking West Virginia football on another Friday night, 22 straight. So between the Golden Blue Dude, myself, Justin Walker, Travis Kenobi, we will show up for you each and every weekend. West Virginia Live, 22 straight. We'll take your comments and questions. Get on into the live chat, and we will talk Mountaineers. Golden Blue Dude, how you doing tonight?
I'm doing very well. The thing that I've been waiting on finally happened, and I can't wait to talk about it. I've already made a video on it, so people that watch the video, they know what I'm talking about. But we're definitely going to get into it.
Yeah, get on over there. Golden Blue Dude, you all know him. And if there's a few people that squeeze in here that aren't aware, Gold and Blue Dude, you'll see it on the banner in here just a second. Get on over to his channel on YouTube, Talking West Virginia Football. This is your time, especially the best time of the season, folks, to produce the show. Your comments and questions, just leave them right there, and we will get to them. Blame me for us being late. So I'm the one to blame. All right. All
Well,
right,
no,
Chris.
I'm the first one to blame, and then yeah, things happened.
Absolutely. So that's another good reminder right there. Got to subscribe, hit the bell for the notifications to know when we go live. So our mark every week is Friday night, 8 p.m. Eastern time. We had a spring game, of course, about 4 to 6 weeks ago. We went on a Saturday night. We had a few other change ups. So please hit the bell for the notifications to know when we go live. We're going to make it live here every week. Just about every time it's going to be Friday night at 8, but please turn on those notifications. Big college football news, and I'll take us in some other directions later, Chris, because we've got a conference that jumped out and wiped out the divisions. It changes the championship format. Of course, the Big 12 has been the leader there with the 1 versus 2 matchup and some other things going on around college football. Quite the feud between one Nick Saban and Jimbo Fisher, but the one that affects the Mountaineers will lead with that. Jordan Addison, Pitt wide receiver, a guy that may have kept the Mountaineers up late at night trying to game plan for. They're not going to have to now. He officially made it USC after some looks at Alabama, and then it certainly came down to Texas. He finally makes the move out to USC and Lincoln Riley, so West Virginia does not have to deal with him in week 1 on that Thursday night.
Or at all. I was whenever his second choice was Texas, I'm like, I don't know if that's any better or not because we got to play Texas too. So, he's out of the conference over there at USC. That's what I was hoping for. That's what happened. That was best case scenario for West Virginia. I'm happy about it.
We are simulcasting right here at the main channel. Well, we got a West Virginia channel that's growing, so please subscribe over there. Yeah, Jordan Addison, that became the kind of the classic transfer portal. What has this become? Is there some tampering involved? Is there outright money being offered that says, okay, I'd rather be here than there, therefore I'm leaving because I know that I can get the things that we don't want to see and that are against the rules concerning NIL. Tampering, coaches cannot come in contact with players that aren't theirs. And number 2, there can't be an offer made to a player to say, whether it's a high school student athlete to say, we've got $1 million for you here. We all know that NIL opportunities and collectives are legal and there, but you can't be luring guys to campus with specific deals.
But the thing is, it's out of control. I mean, that's that's exactly what's happening. I mean, Saban straight up accused Jimbo Fisher of buying his recruiting class, the entire recruiting class. We've seen USC pretty much build the 2022 version of the USC Trojans through the transfer portal. And of course, Alabama is always stacked. So it's always been going on. It's just that we're starting to take steps to make it more and more legal. I think we're one step away from, busting it wide open, and it's going to just be pay for play. I mean, and we're headed in that direction. We might as well figure out how to take advantage of that use it to our advantage because we're not going to stop it. It's coming. It's right on the doorstep. NIL was kind of that door, and now it's going to be pushed open, and that's what we're going to be looking at. So whenever I make these videos on, tampering, which I was mad because of Mesidor going to Miami. We all know he was tampered with. I made videos about USC tampering with Addison, Jimbo Fisher tampering. I don't even know if you can call it tampering anymore because it's everybody does it. Being on the receiving end of it sucks, and it makes you want to, trash talk the other people. But then maybe your team is involved, and maybe they've done stuff in the past. I'm talking about West Virginia possibly under a day when he was at West Virginia. So we might have done it because he's known for that. So when you're on the side that's doing it, you're like, well, maybe it's not that bad. Maybe it's not that bad. So it depends on what side of the coin you're on whenever the tampering is going on. But the bottom line is the word tampering is going to go away here real soon. And what I'm hearing is that the thing that's getting more and more traction right now is, 40, 50 teams are going to split off from the NCAA, create their own conference, league, championship, try to operate under the college football playoff umbrella, do it that way. I don't know what the exact number of that would be. And, they're going to come up with their own rules and their own ways of enforcing the rules. And it's going to be generated by money. And they're trying to figure out a way of every player within that conference or league, whatever it's called, will be paid a flat rate that's not counted towards NIL. They'll basically be employees. So they get paid a flat rate. Doesn't matter if they're a quarterback, offensive lineman, punter, whatever. Flat rate. Then on top of that, you have your NIL deals, that you get your sponsorships and stuff like that with your name, image, and likeness. That's the talk that I'm hearing that's getting more and more traction. And as the days goes on, more details are being thrown into it. Like, I didn't hear about the flat rate thing until this week. I've been hearing about the conference split off or the team split off from the NCAA for several weeks, a couple of months actually. But that detail just happened this week. So it's looking like, that's a serious thing. I don't know how far in the future it is or how close it is to us, but to me, it sounded like a serious possibility.
Yeah, and I don't want to see us go in that direction for a few different reasons. So I want the players to be able to earn money like any other American. Yep. They can go outside, whatever their status is in school or a job, and go on social media, partner with somebody as a business partner and make money. So what has happened in the past in regards to college athletes being generally the only people in America that can't partner with someone to make money. Yep. Certainly we've gotten past that. So I'm all for that. But I would like to keep this, at least the pay for play part of it, in amateur status. And some of that might actually benefit and protect the player, because if we go the route that you're talking about and others, and yeah, it's out there in regards to, okay, does this need to become a professional type league of sorts? Well, then the players become employees, and then, that the scholarship somewhat protects the player. So if you've earned a scholarship, you're given a scholarship, you sign the papers and you're a scholarship player, and you've got a 4-year scholarship. And as long as you're going to class and meeting the grades and showing up for practice and doing all the right things, if you don't show up as a player, you don't get cut. You don't get your scholarship terminated, as long as, you're doing all the right things. If you're not as good a player as you were supposed to turn out to be, whereas if they become employees get fired. That's NFL players get cut. Bye.
That's exactly right. I actually kind of like it because it kind of puts them at the same level as the coaches, because that's kind of, that's the same deal with the coaches, because now with the coaches there's certain buyouts and stuff like that, but if they're not the coach that they or they not having the success that they thought that coach would have, then they're like, sorry, this isn't working out. So, maybe it'll give the players more incentive to not sit out games and stuff like that. But I understand where you're coming from and the protecting of, the college athletes. The thing that I'm trying to figure out is, where does that scholarship athlete actually fit into the future of college football? Right now, it's fine, but in the direction that college football is taken, is there an actual place for it? Does it actually make sense in the college football that we're headed for?
Yeah, and we would like to get everyone's suggestions, your possibilities out there. And again, if you've got comments and questions concerning West Virginia, leave them there in the live chat as well. And check out some of these previous shows. It's the off season. They don't get outdated. They're still good. And we've had some really good conversations, whether that was our backyard brawl video from a couple weeks ago. And
that was good.
Chris, Justin have posted some really good videos on the side and got together between Chris and Travis last Friday night with a really good show. So check those out. And we're going to continue our opponent series. Surprise, surprise, surprise. We couldn't find a Kansas football media person.
Freaking unicorn.
You would think that they would be, first of all, there's somebody out there that covers that has been relegated to covering Kansas football for 247 and I've reached out to those guys. You would think that they would be begging for some type of attention, but and like you, Chris, I jump on Twitter and guys are typically very good about, I contact anybody and I get a 95+% response rate from people saying, absolutely, this sounds cool, I'll come on. And I contacted like 3 to 4 Kansas people and just crickets. Wouldn't come on the show. So
I've gone out of my way to look for them, and I can't find a one, man. I cannot find a one.
Maybe they thought they'll get abused. They don't know how nice we are.
No, we're trying to be nice, and Kansas is on the rebound in football. Things fall their way. A few bounces of the ball, maybe they can get to a bowl. You never know. I mean, they're doing much. I mean, they beat Texas last year. Had a better season than what I thought they would have, and I think they're going to be a better team than what they were last year. So yeah, bring them on. We're not going to trash talk or anything. We try to be nice. Even nice. To the pit guy, we were nice.
I was going to say, if we're going to be nice to anybody or not nice, it would be the pit guy. And exactly, we had a great conversation with our guy Mike a few weeks ago. That was a whole lot of fun. So again,
he had a lot to say too.
He had a lot to say. And again, remember, and I shouldn't even call him our pit guy because he covers Pitt, but he's a West Virginia guy at the same time because he's covers both, and he's a West Virginia alum actually, but covers Pitt football. And yeah, that's going to be an amazing game, an amazing atmosphere and environment, and leading up to the game. Can't wait for that. And so I think we're now looking at under 100 days to college football. So we're getting there. We're getting there.
Yeah, I'm starting my preview videos tomorrow or Sunday, actually.
Nice.
Probably going to see. I thought about it, and I've tried one at a time, but of course that would take forever and a lot more time. And you can only appeal to one fan base. So the way I'm going to approach it this year is I'm going to do 3 teams in one video. Each team gets 4 or 5 minutes each. And that way you're hitting multiple fan bases in one video. So, yeah, I think it's going to work out well. But right now, and I've been thinking about this all day, I've already made a video on it. And that was Jordan Addison heading over to Pitt. And the reason that's such a big deal is not just the news in and of itself. It's the culmination of what's been going on at West Virginia in the offseason. I called it the cherry on top of probably the best offseason that I could have thought of, to be honest with you. Other than Hakeem Mesdor leaving, that hurt, that sucks. But besides that, we had the best offseason that this West Virginia fan could have envisioned. First thing was we got a for real offensive coordinator. And not just a real offensive coordinator, pretty good one. Okay, so Graham Harrell over at USC. I know USC fans are very indifferent, didn't like some of his play calling. I understand that. But overall, when he was at USC, they were always a top 25 offense. And there was a couple years where they were a top 10 defense. That is a big deal at West Virginia because the past 3 years, since Neil Brown took over, West Virginia has had a great defense and a non-existent offense. Our offense has been nowhere to be found. Last year, we averaged a little over 25 points a game, which means your defense has to hold your opponents to under 25 points for you to have any shot of winning. And our defense actually did that. They held opponents to 23 points per game. So they kept us in games that we had no business being in. I remember watching game after game last year. Our defense would do its job, either get a 3 and out, get a stop, or get a turnover, and our offense does nothing with it. Or our offense commits a turnover and our defense does their job. Well, they can only do that so much. Every once in a while, there's going to be a breakthrough game where you're going to have to score 30, 40 points to win because the defense is just having an off day or whatever. There was only 4 games last year where West Virginia's defense allowed 30 or more points. 4 games. That's it. The first game at Maryland, West Virginia lost 30-24. The road game to Baylor, they actually allowed more than 40 points. We lost 45-20. The road trip to Kansas State, we lost 34-17. And then the only game that we won, allowing more than 30 points, Iowa State at home, 38-31. That's a pretty good defense right there. That's a defense that's going to keep you in football games. Now, I think that our defense is actually going to be a little bit better than what it was last year. Losing Hakeem Mesdor, that hurts, but that's the group of guys that were the most deep at on the defense, the defensive line. We're going to be fine. And we went out and got Lockhart from Georgia Tech. Now, Lockhart is no Mesidor. Okay, I'm not saying that. What I'm saying is he helps stop the bleeding. And Dante Steele's coming back. That defensive line is going to be one of the best in the Big 12. We went out and addressed our depth at linebacker by getting Austin Cave from Miami. That was a huge get for West Virginia. We needed depth at the linebacker. Our quarterback situation is looking really, really good. A lot of West Virginia fans complained about losing Nick Troy Fortune and Derek Porter Jr. Well, Nick Troy Fortune got straight up beat for his own position after he got injured and came back, tried to win it back, couldn't win it back from Charles Woods. So we're good with Charles Woods. And Derek Porter was very hit and miss. He'd have a great game, and then he'd have a stupid game where he'd commit stupid mistakes, and it'd cost West Virginia a game. We have some depth at quarterback, a little young there, and we're a little young at safety, but we've proven year after year after year that we're able to coach up the secondary. West Virginia has been the best at the secondary. This year, I think our strength is going to be in the front 7 with our defensive line and linebackers. But I'm not worried about our secondary because we've proven that there's not going to be a significant drop-off. So defense is fine. That's the picture that I'm painting. Defense is fine. I think it's actually going to be a little bit better than what it was last year. The biggest thing we were looking at, offense. We got the offensive coordinator, Graham Harrell, right? We have plenty of depth at running back now. We grabbed Lynn J. Dixon from Clemson. Losing Lenny Brown, is it going to hurt West Virginia? I don't think so. Will we miss him? Yes. But when he tested in the combine, he was the slowest running back there. So that proves that we used him the best we could. He just wasn't a fast guy. Lynn J. Dixon, much quicker than Lenny Brown. And our offensive line, evidence from the spring game, is getting an actual push this year. So those running backs, instead of last year having to wait for the hole to open or make their own hole, this year they're actually going to get like a 2, maybe a 3-yard buffer before they have to choose which hole they want to pick. So we're looking at, more first downs, less wear and tear on the running backs, and all 5 of those offensive linemen are back, and that's one of the most important groups to have as far as all of your starters back. And I think at wide receiver, addition through subtraction. Yes, we lost Winston Wright, who technically was our leading receiver, but there was a bunch of guys up there that was in the same category. He was our leading receiver, but he only had a little over 600 yards. So what does that really tell you? He was the leading receiver of a bad offense. So we got rid of some extra bodies, which I don't want to call Winston Wright an extra body, but it is what it is. When you have that many receivers and they're fighting for reps, it's hard for them to get into a groove. I think we're at a good number where we still have good wide receivers, but it's not overcrowded. So I think this year you're going to see Prather, James, and Bryce Ford Wheaton. Those three are going to be your go-to receivers. Reese Smith is going to be in there as well. And those are the guys that are going to get into the groove. And I think our wide receivers are going to be much better on the field this year. They're going to get into that groove. They're going to have more confidence because they're going to see more reps. And the more, people don't realize this. With the wide receiver, the more they see themselves catch that ball, the more confidence they have. And the more times they're thrown to, the more opportunities they get with that. If you're jumping on and off the field all the time and you get like 2 balls thrown to you the entire game, that's not going to build any confidence. This year's going to be completely different. They're going to get targeted a lot more. They're going to see themselves catch the ball a lot more. The confidence is going to go up. Wide receiver is going to be fine. One more thing, by the way. Getting Graham Harrell, what did that do? Immediately got the attention of JT Daniels. Quarterback situation solved. I'm going to go ahead and say it. Our quarterback situation is solved. Not because of just JT Daniels either. That's kind of like the icing on the cake. If you watched the spring game, you saw a guy that most West Virginia fans had started to forget about. What was his name? Will Crowder, the Goose. Nobody remembered his name because he wasn't being repped. He wasn't being showcased on the field at all. And it was because our offensive coordinators didn't know what they were looking at. In comes Graham Harrell, a real offensive coordinator, former quarterback at Texas Tech. He knows what a real quarterback looks like. He comes into West Virginia. He's like, man, why are we not using this guy? This guy has accuracy. This guy has a cannon. And this guy knows how to read the defense. And that's exactly what Will Crowder did in the spring game. And so we have JT Daniels, the veteran. We have the diamond in the rough with Will Crowder. And we have the up-and-coming phenom freshman, Nico Marhill. So, yes, I would say that our quarterback situation is in a much better situation than what it was this time last year. And maybe if we would have had Graham Harrell last year, he would have known what to do with Daggy as well. Maybe Daggy was a victim of, not having a great offensive coordinator. We'll never know the answer to that because, their paths are not going to cross. But that could be a situation as well. I think having Graham Harrell is going to solve a lot of things as far as simply putting points on the board. We don't even have to be, an offense that scores 40 points a game. Just an offense that can score, at a decent clip, at an average clip, average, 30 points a game, which is low for most teams. For West Virginia, that's amazing. And I think he can do that. And so I'm truly excited about West Virginia because the defense is fine as usual. And I think the offense is going to be much better.
I'm going to pull up those offensive and defensive total points per game stats and maybe give some projections as to how that could turn in West Virginia's favor this year. But a couple comments and topics brought up in the live chat that we'll pursue. First and foremost, Chris, take some pride that you're turning people into West Virginia fans. So our guy Dave here says that between Golden Blue Dude and the guy with a rad hat, don't know if he's talking about Coos, that you guys have turned him into a West Virginia fan. So secondary team now, West Virginia, pulling for the Mountaineers. There was a comment made by Talk is Pitt. Of course, our guy Talk is Pitt. We appreciate Talk is Pitt is here, but of course he's gonna needle some people, poke a little bit, and control. We need it. Yeah, that's fine. Let's stir it up. Let's talk. And he made the comment that, of course, Keaton Slovis, the opposing quarterback in week 1, beat out JT Daniels at USC. okay, this is what happened. When they were both healthy and competing for the job, JT Daniels won the job. Okay. Mm-hmm. And that was as what should have been a high school senior. That kind of thing still blows me away, that a guy that should be playing high school football goes to a place like USC and wins a job.
So that'll be like Nico winning it this year.
Yeah, that's a good point. Not surrounded by USC caliber offensive talent for that particular season. So kind of got thrown into a fire. And when I say didn't perform great, I would say that if he had time under his belt, but considering the circumstances, did a pretty damn good job. But so then we roll into the 2019 season, and JT Daniels won the job again with Keaton Slovis there. And then he gets hurt the first game of the season, or maybe played full game. Yes, played one full game, won the game. Yeah. I believe they beat Fresno State. They were playing somebody. Anyway, game 2, gets hurt game 2. And Keaton Slovis takes over. To Keaton Slovis's credit, this is not me bashing Keaton Slovis. Had a tremendous season. Sees the opportunity, 30 touchdown passes. They go to the Holiday Bowl, have a decent season, 8-5. Okay. They get into spring practice. Who knows what was going on at that point? JT Daniels moves on. But I got to think that USC being in the condition that it was under Clay Helton, coming off an 8-5 season, 5-7 the year before, and JT Daniels can go to Georgia and win the job at Georgia, surrounded by high 4 and 5 stars in that quarterback room. I don't think he was concerned with not winning the job at USC. I think he was lured by playing with all that great future NFL talent around him and an offensive line that could protect him. And if he could win the job at Georgia after winning the job twice at USC, I don't think that that's an accurate statement that he got beaten out by Keaton Slovis. He didn't get beaten. He beat Keaton Slovis out twice for the job, and then Slovis, great, sees the opportunity, give him all the credit.
He wanted to win the championship.
And then, Daniels goes on to Georgia and wins a much more difficult quarterback situation at Georgia. So, and I don't think there's any question Daniels has been a better quarterback since. Slovis has never repeated what he did that first. We talked about it a couple of weeks ago when Mike was on, when we were dissecting Pitt. And I watched USC quite a bit, and I noticed it early in the 2020 season. He actually got knocked out of a game, and his shoulder was not necessarily the same after that. We'll see if he can really spin it this year, but he kind of nursed his way through 2 seasons and went from 30 touchdowns, 9 picks 2 years ago, 11-8 last year.
Yeah.
Wasn't necessarily anything close to what he was. And JT Daniels is
That's
right
why I'm
now,
trying to figure out why I talk his Pitt is like so like I mean, I understand he's a Pitt fan. I get it. And you have to be behind your team. That part I'm fine. But the yarn that he's spinning about Keaton Slovis, number 1, beating out JT Daniels, wrong answer. Number 2, the better quarterback, wrong answer. Having great season. He's had great seasons every year as a starter, wrong answer. So I'm not saying Keaton Slovis is a bad quarterback. That's not what I'm saying. What I'm saying is he has issues from time to time.
Yeah, and I was trying to look this up because the last I saw going into spring practice, so they got a second-string quarterback in Nick Patty, who actually started the bowl game against Michigan State when Kenny Pickett opted out. So Nick Patty started. He got knocked out the first series or 2 of the game, and they went to the third stringer, who actually played pretty well. Pitt had an 11-point lead, at least an 11-point lead in that game. Michigan State came roaring back, beat him by 10 points. And the third string quarterback was playing most of the game, played pretty well for a third string quarterback. Looking at Michigan State for a Peach Bowl game, all of a sudden you're thrown into a Peach Bowl game against Michigan State. He played pretty well, but he did throw a key pick six that kind of sealed it for Michigan State. He moved on to Oklahoma. His name's Davis Bethel, to take that second string job at Oklahoma. So the last I was hearing is that, we can expect Keaton Slovis to be the starting quarterback, but it's not necessarily a complete done deal because Nick Patty did start some games while he was at Pitt and played pretty well. So he's in the running and putting up a fight for the starting job.
Yeah. And I see what I'm glad we have a USC guy in here because he can tell us about both Slovis and JT Daniels to some degree and not really have any, pull either way because they were both on the team. And he pointed out that Slovis really struggled without some of his best targets, so Slovis is good when he has the guys that he needs. And that's why I'm so excited. And I hate to say it like this because you're happy about, misfortune happening to somebody else. But as a West Virginia fan, I'm happy that Jordan Addison moved on to USC because Slovis, that takes one the best target in the nation away from him. How is he going to do now without that target? And I know Talkus Pitt said, is going around telling everybody, well, Pitt got these wide receivers through the transfer portal, which they may be pretty good, decent, but even put together, they're not a Jordan Addison. He is a game changer. You have to game plan for Jordan Addison. He's a different beast. You can have three, let's say you get 3B as far as graded B receivers through the transfer portal. Well, 3B receivers isn't going to equal 1A plus Jordan Addison. It's just not. I mean, it's going to be decent, but Jordan Addison changes the game, and it will hurt Pitt.
He changes the game by catching the football, and when he's targeted with 100 catches, 1,600 yards, look up the numbers, 17 touchdowns. But it's also about him attracting a crowd and opening it up for the other guys. So you pick your poison, say, we're going to play them pretty much straight up. Maybe we'll tilt the defense in his direction or provide a little help. And hopefully we can, depending on the confidence level you have of your corners, and then you risk him burning you, or you say, you know what, we're flat out taking him out of the game. And then you open it wide open for 2 or 3 guys to step up and make plays. Just to hit a couple points here, Falconer Jones, appreciate you being here. Thank you for the super sticker. Thank you so much for that. And Falconer, I hope you're listening right now because I apologize that I believe it was on the Miami show, might have been a call-in show. I looked back at some super chats afterwards, and for some reason, I missed a couple of your super chats.
He had one more here too, a 305 super chat, and it said Saban and Jimbo are West Virginia people.
Okay, we'll get back there, Falconer Jones, and we will get that to the screen. There we go. Thanks, man.
No problem.
Appreciate your contribution. Yes, Falconer Jones, by the way, he comes up with some great lines. So yes, we've got. And that's just flat out truth right there. He's not making something up just to be funny.
I was talking about this in West Virginia groups, and we were going back and forth, and the consensus was people didn't care that Jimbo and Nick Saban were from West Virginia until this happened. And then whenever this happened, oh yeah, see, that's how people from West Virginia act. They can't even get along with each other. They didn't care before this happened. Nick Saban, greatest coach of all time from West Virginia. Jimbo, well, he's not a great coach, but he's recruiting at a high level over at Texas A&M and having decent success. But now, he does have one national championship. But now that they're fighting, now that's when people start talking about they're from West Virginia. That's just how it is. When you're from West Virginia, you've learned to live life like this. That's how people are. That's hilarious, though. It's funny.
Absolutely. Oh, it was, when it's all said and done, me as a college football fan, and I'm just speaking for myself, thinks that that's bad for the sport. It's a bad look for the sport and all those things. I don't want to see two of the best coaches at each other's throats or anything like that. But I will admit, for the entertainment value, it was hilarious. It got my blood flowing. I was like, look at this. I have never seen, I don't know if anybody in the chat can respond. I've asked this question a few times. Nobody's been able to come up with a similar scenario. Chris, maybe you can. I can't ever remember coaches talking about each other that vehemently, that with that much venom. Usually coaches by nature, let's start here. Coaches by nature are very respectful of each other. First of all, most of them like each other. They admire each other. Listen to any coach during a news conference. If another coach is brought up, we respect what he's doing with his program. He does a great job. He does the right things. Da, 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 da. So that's most of the time. And anytime we can tell maybe a coach doesn't get along with another coach, it's not usually because they say anything bad about them. It's because they don't say anything. They're not saying he does the right things and he's a great coach and we respect him. He just he is who he is. And you can tell by the absence of compliments. But I do not remember, I've been watching this sport for like 45 years, coaches saying he cheated. He flat out basically cheated. Otherwise, you don't state that he paid players. That means he's cheating. And I know Nick Saban walked it back a little bit, but why call out anybody if you're just saying guys are getting NIL deals? Because he could have picked out almost any program in the country and said they're getting NIL deals. He was saying they're cheating.
I gave the answer to that, actually. So I dug into that. I'm like, why did Nick Saban single out Jimbo Fisher? I mean, everybody's doing it. Nick Saban's doing it. Everybody does it. So why did he single out Jimbo Fisher? It seems like he's threatened because I looked at the recruiting rankings from last year to this year, and it's a big difference. And
sure,
Saban might be threatened that this could turn into a trend, and he could lose ground on the recruiting trail. That's why he's targeting Jimbo. Jimbo went from 1 5-star in 2021 to 8 5-stars in 2022. Not just that, Nick Saban went from 7 5-stars down to 3 5-stars. So not just the fact that Jimbo got more 5-stars, Nick Saban got fewer 5-stars. And Alabama still had the number 2 recruiting class. But the gap between the 5-stars that Jimbo had and the gap that Nick Saban had, that was a significant gap. And I think he's trying to stop the gap from getting bigger. So the thing that could pop in, let me badmouth this guy real quick, even though everybody's doing it. If you go back and think about it, it doesn't make sense why he would say that, because he knows he's doing it himself. He's just threatened, and he doesn't want that gap to get any bigger. He's not used to losing. He hates losing.
Well, I put it this way on one of our shows, and I'm not going to call it either way because I don't know the men personally, and I don't know what's in their heads and hearts and what they've done, what they haven't done that's been legal or illegal. When I say legal or illegal, we're not talking about, well, with NIL, we could mean breaking laws because there are state laws about it. But generally, I mean, within NCAA guidelines in terms of recruiting, because Jimbo, of course, took shots at Nick Saban's past, and he was alluding to not doing things the right way versus the NCAA and the guidelines there. So if you're a believer in Nick Saban, and I'm not talking about as a football coach, I'm talking about as a person, character, integrity. Mm-hmm. If you're a believer in Nick Saban, then you believe that he has something on Jimbo Fisher, and he knows they cheated. We have NIL deals, but we did them the right way. We recruited the players, they enrolled, they signed, and then we presented the NIL, and they got into NIL, and they, benefited from that. Because Nick Saban flat out said, we got $3 million and we've got 25 players that currently have NIL deals. So he was upfront about that. Who knows if the numbers are accurate, but he was upfront to say, we've got 25 players. benefiting from NIL, and we've got $3 million, I think was the figure in collective. Okay. So if you believe in Nick Saban and his truthfulness, then he's calling out Jimbo Fisher as a cheater, saying they flat out went out and said, come to Texas A&M. We've got 100,000 for you, or 500,000, or whatever the figure. And that's not the way it's supposed to be done. That's against the rules. Okay. But if you're not a believer in Nick Saban, if you think, shoot, he's cheating just like everybody else, Nick Saban's mad because Texas A&M has more money and than Alabama does, and they're able to trump Alabama on the recruiting path and take more players. I don't necessarily, nor am I in the position to make a call as to which one's the truth. I had a Texas A&M guy on today from 247 Sports, and he claims that the lawyers involved with Texas A&M NILs have come to bat for Jimbo and everybody else and say, we're doing it the right way. You can look into it. You can investigate it. It's all about the school taking care of the NIL situation with the players like it's supposed to happen. The coaches have no involvement. We're doing things the right way.
I don't even know what to say about that, because there's so many. Whenever this thing first came out between Jimbo and Nick, like I said earlier, they both know that they're doing it. And Nick Saban did flat out, he called Jimbo a cheater. He did. But I saw a comment on the thread earlier, and they said that Nick said this in front of a donor dinner, trying to get them to, spend more money on the athletes. So could this have possibly been taken out of context? Or was this a real direct shot to Jimbo? Or was this more directed towards the donors themselves, saying, hey, Jimbo was able to buy this many 5-stars. If you give us more money, we can buy more 5-stars.
Yes. So I think you got a good point there. I have not seen Nick Saban's statement that kind of backpedaled his initial statement, but in the aftermath of him doing that, I went back and looked at his initial statement. What gets buried is everybody's focusing on the feud between the two and the sharp words and everything. And that's what I focused on, because that's what's the drama. And that's what's interesting and intriguing, is two coaches, slamming each other back and forth. But underlying all that, Nick Saban wasn't too effective in getting his point across. His real point is, we need to fix college football. This is not a sustainable model. The NCAA can't do anything about it because they're going to get sued. So they're weak, and they can't really implement the penalties that they have in the past because they're not in a position to do it. They're going to get litigated, so they're afraid of that. So they're powerless, and we need a better model, and this is running off the rails. And that was his real message in terms of all of college football, the full landscape. When he pointed out Texas A&M, it kind of needed clarification as to, they're cheating and we're not. We did everything. The phrase that got me was, he said, they bought every player, we didn't. Well, that basically says that they're cheating, because he later said, we've got NIL and 25 players benefited from it. So he's basically saying they did it the wrong way. They paid the players to come on campus and sign. We just recruited like we always do, the right way. And then we had NIL opportunities. So that's how everyone took it, as he's saying they're cheating. When he backpedaled, it made it sound more like, okay, this NIL thing's here to stay, and everybody can get into it however they want to, as long as they're above board and doing it the right way. But there are going to be schools that have huge advantages over other schools. And do we really want to be in that environment, in that world? It's not fair. So we need to get a hold of this. And he was just making an example of Texas A&M as being one of the teams, programs that have a ton of money that can do that.
That makes sense. I think we missed the super chat earlier with Tim Prangley, or maybe you mentioned it and I didn't hear you. $10 super chat, but now he's questioning our integrity to a degree. He says, "So what is it going to take to get a call-in show tonight?" He didn't say in general. He said tonight. Can you be bribed? Calling out
I can always
the
be
Voice of
bribed.
College Football Collective.
It's a business. You talk about a collective. Shoot, Golden Blue Dude and I each have our own collectives. Absolutely, we've got our collectives.
Yep.
Oh man,
This is a
we'll look into
business,
that
all
later.
right? So yes, we can be bought to a certain degree.
To a certain degree.
To a certain
I don't know
degree.
what that number is. Man, maybe I'm still a little too groggy to let you
And
know
it
what
depends
it
on what
is.
you're asking too. There are limits.
Yes, there are limits. Yeah, we will be here this weekend. We will obviously let you know here throughout the show what Golden Blue Dude is working on and what videos and live streams he's got coming up, and we'll talk all about that.
Speaking
Yes,
of
sir.
which, we're going to be doing an 8-hour live stream on June 24th, and I've been meaning to message you about this. So we want to get you on the live stream. We're gonna, we're probably gonna have like 8 to 10 guests on. Give them 20 to 30 minutes, so you're not going to be on there like an extensive amount of time to where it wears you out. Just 30-minute spot. Talk about whatever you want to talk about. It's going to be 8 hours, June 24th. From 1 p.m. to 9 p.m. I'm super excited about it. I already have you lined up. I already have JCP. He's very controversial, but very entertaining. And we have some other YouTube figures we're looking into to come on there. So I think it's going to be a good one. And we're going to call it we're previewing basically the 2022 college football season. So this will be a live show to get people, hey, it's coming. Time to get excited.
I am yours. I am available. So we will figure out a time and make it work. That sounds like a good time. I appreciate you asking me. And yes, I am booked as of 30 seconds ago. I'm ready to roll. So,
and well, the good thing is, like, we know you, like, over here at Golden Blue Dude, me and Joey, we know you have a lot going on. So, you get the first window between 1 and 9 p.m. So the floor is yours, and everybody else has to work around you. How about that?
Nice. I appreciate that. What
day
is the 24th?
I thought it was on a Friday.
Okay.
I got so many stuff going on. Let me double check. Yes, it is on a Friday. June 24th will be on a Friday, 1 p.m. to 9 p.m.
Okay.
I did get sidetracked from something I wanted to say earlier about Jordan Addison. That it actually helps, and you actually brought the point up. It actually helps West Virginia twofold. Number one, Keaton Slovis doesn't have that target. I already talked about that. Number two, what you said earlier as far as defenses not having to plan for him. So West Virginia playing Pitt, now we don't have to worry about that threat. And it's not just not having to cover Jordan Addison. To your point, it's also being able to even out your defense. Because if you do just focus on Jordan Addison, you're leaving all these other wide receivers open as well. So that's going to help out with our game plan tremendously, because our defense isn't going to be, kind of drug over to one side of the sideline because of the best wide receiver in the nation. So twofold, it helps West Virginia. I'm just trying to explain why I'm so excited he went to USC. This is a big deal. And West Virginia beating Pitt in that first game could open up the floodgates to a potential 10-win season. Okay? Bear with me. I said potential. This past year, West Virginia had the potential of going 8-4. Potential. But, when teams slip up, lose games they shouldn't lose, then you hit what you call your basement. West Virginia ended up finishing their basement, which was 6-6. They slipped up at Texas, not at Texas Tech, against Texas Tech at home. Didn't show up in the first half. No points in the first half. Lost that game. That was a slip up. Another slip up was the first game at Maryland. West Virginia should have beaten Maryland. That was a slip up. So those two slip ups cost us that 8-4. This year, potential 10-2, which means if West Virginia slips up, we're looking at an 8-4 season. So I'm looking at West Virginia potential versus basement. So all these moves that have happened in the offseason, including Jordan Addison not being at Pitt has raised the basement of West Virginia. Last year, our basement obviously 6-6. That's what happened. This year, I think our basement is now 8-4. That's if we lose some games that we're not supposed to lose, play to our full potential. I think we could have a 10-win season. Can I run through that real quick so people understand what I'm saying?
Absolutely. And then I've got a question.
All right. So, and I'll give if they're trending up or down as well. Okay. So, first game at Pitt, automatically we're a 6-point underdog. Pitt is, of course, trending downward now. Jordan Addison gone. Very winnable game. I think West Virginia does pull that off. The rest of the season depends on that game, by the way. That's how important that game is. If we want any shot of going 9-3, 10-2, we have to win that game. Right now, I'm going to say we win it. After that, we get Kansas at home. Kansas is trending upward, but I still think that's a comfortable win for West Virginia. It's early in the season. A crowd pumped up. Kansas is not ready for that energy. After that, we get FCS Townsend at home. That's a tune-up game. That's 3-0. Road trip to Virginia Tech after that. All right, so this past year, we beat Virginia Tech in spite of ourselves. We let them get back in the game. They had a 4th and goal with like 10 seconds left. Held them, beat them. This year, Virginia Tech is not going to be as good as that Virginia Tech that we barely beat last year. The difference is it is in Blacksburg. That does change a few things. West Virginia's the better team. Virginia Tech not as good, and they weren't even that good last year, but they're not going to be as good this year. I think that's a win for West Virginia. I really do, especially if JT Daniels is still healthy. A veteran like that road atmosphere against a bad team, that's a win for JT Daniels. The game after that, this is where the 10-2 or 9-3 thing could really fluctuate. On the road to Texas, we all know that Texas has the talent. Can they get it together? And does Alabama completely obliterate Texas? I think Alabama does completely obliterate Texas. I think that brings down their morale, and I think Texas will be ripe for the picking for what might be considered an upset road win for West Virginia. Right now, I would mark that as a win, but really it can be considered what most people would call a half, a win or a loss, one of those games that could go either way. After that, we get a bye week, which is very important because right after that, we get Baylor at home. I think Baylor's going to be probably as good as what they were last year. This is a home game. Baylor's never beaten West Virginia in Morgantown. West Virginia, much better team. Defense across the board, about the same. Baylor might be a little bit better in a few aspects. I think West Virginia's offense is going to be better. I think that's a win for West Virginia. Not even being a homer, just looking at the matchups where it's at, I think that's a win for West Virginia. After that game, Texas Tech. I think Texas Tech is not going to be as good as what they were last year. I think they made a big mistake by firing Matt Wells. I think Texas Tech was turning a corner last year, and they fired Matt Wells during that corner turn. Now they have to start all over again from the foundation. They do have some pieces to work with, but you're looking at a whole new offense, a whole new defense, players getting used to the coaching staff, all that stuff. I'm going to call it a 50-50. Could go either way, all right, because it is on the road. After that, TCU at home. Easy win. TCU identity crisis alert. Gary Patterson gone. It's in Morgantown. That's a win. At Iowa State, that's a loss. I'm sorry. I just don't see West Virginia beating Iowa State in Ames until they have like a really, really good, like nationally, possibly contending for the playoffs good team. Not going to happen. Lost in Ames. Oklahoma in Morgantown. Oklahoma is not going to have that offense that everybody's used to. And I do think this is the year that West Virginia knocks off Oklahoma since we joined the Big 12. A lot of people would call that fool's gold because we've said that in the past. I mean, there was that shootout. It was like, 59-56. They beat us in Morgantown in 2018. It's not going to be anything like that. I actually think this could be a comfortable win for West Virginia. Something like maybe a 34-21 or 34-24. Being serious. Kansas State. If this was on the road, I would actually pick Kansas State. I think Kansas State is going to be on the rise this year. Could be a sleeper Big 12 contender. Nobody really seeing coming like Baylor was last year. hindsight 2020, we probably should have expected Baylor to be as good as what they were, but nobody did, if we're being honest with ourselves. I think Kansas State is that team this year. But it being in Morgantown, I say West Virginia pulls off the win. But then that last game at Oklahoma State, that's a loss for sure, counting it. So 2 for sure losses. At Iowa State, at Oklahoma State. Book it. It's happening. Get over it. The other 2 games that are 50-50-ish, well, I'm going to say 3 counting the Pitt, but I'm really confident in the Pitt game. Not counting Pitt, at Texas Tech. Those 2 games right there will determine if West Virginia goes 8-4 or if West Virginia goes 10-2. Because 4 of our 6 losses last year, 50-50 football games, but let's see, 1, 2, 3 of our wins were also 50-50 football games. So I'm looking at the moves, and I think we do flip. Instead of losing the 50-50s, I think we flip the 50-50s in our favor. And the 2 games that will determine 8-4 or 10-2 will be at Texas and at Texas Tech.
So once again, ceiling 10-2, floor 8-4.
I mean, if the bottom completely falls out, 7-5. I mean, that would be losing at Pitt, at Texas, and at Texas Tech. So I guess it's possible. The basement of all basements, 7-5, I would say.
Okay. I wish you hadn't said that, because my first question was going to be, or my first comment was going to be, what if I told you that West Virginia was going to go 7-5? You're telling me that there's no way they can go 7-5, that 8-4 is the basement.
I say there's no way they can go 6-6 again, but they can go 7-5. Yes.
Yeah, my basement and ceilings typically for these teams are much broader.
Yep.
So there's nobody on the schedule that West Virginia cannot beat, that it's not possible that they could beat. But does anybody expect them to go undefeated? Of course not. The law of averages says that they can't go through the entire schedule. But if you take every game individually and say, can they beat them? Can they beat them? Can they beat them? Yeah, they can beat everybody. Alabama's not on the schedule. So
neither is Georgia.
Yes. So, but from a floor standpoint, I think the floor is a little bit lower than that. So anyway, so you're saying they went 6-6 last year, and you're saying that was the floor?
Yes, because of the offense. The defense, and the defense is going to be the same. And the reason I say that is I looked from 2019 to 2020 to 2021. The defense, now in 2020, it was elite. But for the most part, the defense has been spectacular every year. 2020 was elite. I don't expect West Virginia to be at that. From time to time, we'll get there, but not every year. But what I am saying is now with the 3-year sample, I expect our defense to be pretty stinking good. Now, last year, the reason we went 6-6 was because of the offense. If you would have watched, like I did, if you would have watched every single West Virginia game, our offense can't even be put into words how bad it was. We shouldn't even have went 6-6. The reason we went 6-6 was our defense. We would have gone higher if our offense would have been anything that resembled an offense. I mean, averaging 25 points a game, that is not good at all. That's not an offense. So what I'm saying is this year we'll have an actual offense. I'm not saying it's a top 20 offense. I'm not saying it's a spectacular offense. I'm saying we'll have an offense. You couple that with the defense that I'm expecting from year to year from the 3-year sample, I think that's worth at least 2 wins. At least 2 wins. Now, bottom of the barrel basement, I would say 7-5. And that would be losing those 3 road trips at Pitt, at Texas Tech. So the 5 losses would all be road trips, by the way. At Texas, at Pitt, at Texas Tech, at Iowa State, at Oklahoma State. We are not losing on the road to Virginia Tech. They are too bad. They're going to be a horrible team this year. That's the one road trip that I'm confident in saying we're not going to lose that road trip.
I'd like to tie all these various ends up that I'm looking at that I'd like to hit on. Number one would be we've got close to 90 people in here, so that's not typical for one of these West Virginia live streams. So we appreciate everybody being here. You know what you do? You come back next week and you bring some more people with you.
Oh, and what I've been trying to explain on my live shows is hit the like button and you will see the fruits of your labor. When you hit the like button, it hits the YouTube algorithm. When the video hits the YouTube algorithm, it gets suggested more. More people see it, more people click on it, and more people come. And literally, when you hit the like button and you see that count, the eyeballs go up and up and up, you can know that you did that because hitting the like button does that. So not only are you helping us, but you'll see the fruits of your labor.
Absolutely. So just to extend on what Chris is talking about here, I'll ask you this, Chris. How many people typically hit the like button on one of your live streams or just a regular video?
You can ask Joey on this one. We are close to 100%.
100%?
Yes, because what I try to do is I try to every time
I gotta see this.
The view count goes from 15,
yep,
and then it goes to 30. I remind people over and over. Now, when I say 100%, probably not everybody that's watched the video, but like everybody that is like the view count
that are watching live.
The live count always matches the like count for the most part. You can ask Joey. That's at 100%. Like if
so
you hit 100%
about the live streams, not necessarily videos.
Right, exactly. Oh no, videos is a whole different story. People
yeah, like it looks like your last live stream was the Countdown to College Football live show 2 days ago,
which was a good one.
So everybody check that out. I'm looking at it right now, and 708 views, 89 likes. So I would say on my average video or live stream, 10%, I'm getting 10% likes. I got 1,000 views, I got 100 likes, maybe.
Right.
And like you, what you were just saying, what do most of the people say about your videos and your live streams? Love it. Chris, keep going. We love it. Do more, and all this other stuff. And I'm like, it takes a split second, like the video.
And don't cost me money either. It's free.
I tell people, yes, it's free. It takes a split second. And I tell people all the time, even if you like what we're doing, if you like the content we're delivering, but even if you don't agree with what I'm saying right now, you don't agree with my opinion, but you enjoy what we're doing, the conversation, the discussion, still hit the like button. That doesn't mean you're agreeing with me. It just means you want more content like this.
Yes.
And you're not
clearing that up. Hitting the like is not agreeing. It just means you're enjoying yourself.
You're not stroking our egos by hitting the like button.
You're not giving us a pat on the back.
If it had nothing to do with the YouTube algorithm, I could care less if there were 3 likes on every video. It has to do with exactly what Chris just outlined. YouTube has built an algorithm that says if a video's got 10,000 views and like 18 people like it, we're not going to support that. We're not going to push that into traffic. But if a video's got 1,000 views and 900 likes, well, that audience loved it. So we're going to push it out there even more, because if they liked it, other people are going to like it. So please do that for us. We should get more than 10%. I'm looking at this live stream that Chris did from a couple days ago, and everybody go over there and check it out. But a little over 700 views, 89 likes. Go like the video.
That's pretty good. Yeah.
But still, go like the video. We should be able to get 50%. Get a video with 1,000.
What people don't realize is a lot of those views comes after you're live too. So, most of the likes come when you're live as well. When people watch the replay, they're just watching the replay. They don't think to hit the like button. So, once I was done with the live show, we're talking maybe 300 views. So 80 likes out of 300 views, that's not bad.
The other thing I'll remind folks, Chris, is and I appreciate it. And I'm sure you have people in your live chat that do this all the time that are encouraging other people to hit the like button. They're like, please hit the like button. Exploring with Ben, Joey, all sorts of people I could name. Tim are constantly saying, hit the like button, hit the like button. They're keeping track of how many people have hit the like button versus how many people are with you live. And I'll even remind them because they'll be like, there's 100 people watching and we only have 15 likes. And I'll say, you know what? And you can go, as you do, I'm sure, you can go right into your current live stream. And even though, let's say you get 100 people watching, you can see how many people have gone into the live stream during the hour or two that you've been on. And even if you've, let's say, got 100 live viewers, you've had like 450 people that have come in. So I'll remind them, I'll say, it's even worse than what you're saying. Like, we've had 450 people here and we only got 15 likes.
Come on, guys.
Please.
Man.
Please.
What do we gotta do? Do I gotta like I can attempt to do a lap on my hands, a handstand. Would that get some likes?
Get some likes that way. I wanted to hit on a couple other things. We got Uncle Rico here. We appreciate your super chat. Thank you so much for that, Uncle Rico, who says basically, Mark should have to wear the sunglasses every time he does this show.
No, his studio lighting isn't as bright as mine, so he don't have to wear sunglasses. He's good.
I may keep that in my back pocket and just out of nowhere surprise everyone, and boom. We'll see.
Good point by Mikey G, by the way. He says, I only have one like to give. We totally understand that. We're talking to the stingy ones who hold on to their like and won't give it away. That's just stingy.
Yes. Thank you, Mikey G. We appreciate it. Yes. As soon as you hit that, you're done. You're good.
That's it. No more.
And obviously, we appreciate all the other things you can do. Super chats, sharing the video out on social media. You know, this is another thing, Chris, is if people enjoy the content, they have Twitter followers, they have people on Facebook, and most of the people don't know who you are. They don't know who I am. Mm-hmm. And let them know, hey, you're college football fans? Boom, Golden Blue Dude's on tonight. Come on in. Let's, it's a good time. Or he's going to be on Saturday. Get on in here. Check it out. So just let people know when you're talking, hey, we love college football. And regardless of who you root for, bring them on in here.
Yeah, the chances of somebody that don't know who we are randomly typing voice of college football or Mark Rogers or Golden Blue Dude, not good. So sharing it, because, and I've said this in my videos and in a lot of my intros, if you're liking this video, I promise you there's going to be other people that like it as well. So share it and we'll find more people that like the video just like you liked it. It's not like you're the only person ever that's going to like the video. So no, don't share. No, if you like it, somebody else is going to like it. Please share it because they're not going to randomly type in our names. It's just not going to happen.
What's funny, and Chris, I love you, and I would not say anything to push against that because what you're saying is 99% of the time completely true. And again, I was telling Chris this before we went on. I belong to this YouTube group that just gives kind of tips and advice, and unfortunately, I don't access it enough to take their tips and advice. But I belong to the group. It's one of those things that I really want to get into that and look at it, but I never get around to it. But anyway, I did hear them say one time that you have to be like this huge YouTuber to look at your search terms to see how people found you. Because usually people found you by typing in college football or typing in West Virginia football or Mountaineers, and then they found you. And they said, you got to be this huge YouTuber for people to actually be searching your name or whatever. But I do find it kind of interesting that my two top search terms are Mark Rogers and Voice of College Football.
Oh, that's surprising.
That's so what YouTube's telling me.
Word of mouth is actually making your actual name and Voice of College Football keywords. That's impressive. That is, you have turned into keywords. That's when you know you've made it. When your name has turned into keywords, you're there, man. You're there.
See, it sounds like Chris and I could talk about this all night because we're YouTubers that are trying to, beat the system and build. And you guys probably don't want to hear this. You guys probably don't want to hear this, but I enjoy talking to somebody that knows what I'm going through and is fighting the same grind.
Yeah.
There was.
Oh, by the way, whenever
Yes, sir.
somebody says something about my sunglasses or why do I do it or that looks silly, I don't even say anything. And I see in the comments all the time, this is what I do every time. I don't even say anything. That's what I do. Why I have my sunglasses. Sorry, I have bright studio lighting. And now it's a look, all right? So it's caught on. I can't, like, they're glued on my face now. I can't take them off. Sorry. They're there. They're stuck.
Exploring with Ben wants me to pull an all-nighter. So everybody gear up for June 24th on Golden Blue Dude's channel, because he's going to have a bunch of amazing guests. And Joey asked me to ask you who's going to be your special premiere headliner. You put that in the chat. So I don't know if that's a surprise or something.
Yeah, because I don't even know. So
okay, Joey said.
So that's the teaser. So what he's doing is he's playing in reverse psychology to tease me by getting you to ask me who the headliner is. What kind of freaking mind games are you playing, Joey, man? Just tell me.
Joey is there for both of us, so we appreciate Joey. But Joey's he's on it. But man, everybody mark it down a month in advance. June 24th, Golden Blue Dudes channel, 8-hour live stream. I'll be there at some point, and a lot of other great guests. And hey, I'll promote it already. We did it last year, 24 consecutive hours leading into the season. We're going to do it again next season, leading into 2022. So we'll do 24 consecutive hours here at the Voice of College Football. And I cheated. I only did 19. I took a couple naps, so I did 19 out of 24.
That's still impressive, man. That's still impressive. Like 8, I'll be pushing it. Like my energy will be dwindling after 8. So I still got to tip my hat for 19, man. That's good. Good stuff.
And I think my longest stretch in there was about 11 or 12. And I'm going to plan it out a little bit better so people can actually see me frying up the bacon and eggs that morning. So the way we planned it was the Thursday night of the openers, just like Pippin and Virginia will be this. So I figured, I'll do post game after those games until like 2 a.m. So I came on the previous 2 a.m. is when I started it, 2 a.m. and I went all the way to 2 a.m. the next day.
That's not a bad plan. What I would have suggested, if you're going to do a 24, definitely start in the morning, because getting through a night without sleep is the hardest thing. So if you start at like 6 p.m., you're getting through the night without sleep, and you got to get to 6 p.m. That's no bueno. That's not going to work. So 2 a.m., that's not bad. I think it would be better, though, if you would start at maybe like a 5 a.m. I know that's a little farther, but that's more normal sleep. You're waking up early, but you're getting a little bit more normal sleep, and you're not having to push through abnormal hours as much.
We'll consider that. But that's going to be a whole lot of fun.
And I'm here for you. So that means if you do need to take a nap, just let me know. Like, hey, man, I want to plan a nap between, this hour and this hour. I can keep it filled out, and that way you're on. Like 24 hours is done. There is no breaks. You're good.
Well, you and a few other people I will lean on, but I will ask the question the other way. I will not say, hey, can you fill in from 7 to 8? I'll say, Chris, anytime you can do, just give me a like hour to 2 hours, whenever that is that works for you. I'll take it. So
I like that wording. Very good. Very good, sir.
There was an interesting topic that was brought up a long, long time ago in the chat, and I forgot to write down who it was, because this is a great question for you. And I want to respect Chris's time so we can get off at any time. But this is an interesting question in regards to, so we get the Pitt game for the first time in 10 or 11 years. So we all want that game. They got together with Virginia Tech last year. That's another big regional rival. Would you consider those two to be the biggest regional rivals? Okay.
Absolutely.
Out of conference rivals. Okay. This particular person, I think they're a Maryland fan, and I hate to miss a person's name because, it was Michael. Our guy Michael is a Maryland guy. So he brought up the Maryland, and if anybody out there is unaware, as a college football fan. Maryland and West Virginia have a long history together as well. Obviously, they're very close together. That's another regional. Would that be the third one that you would give some priority to? And is there anybody else out there that you would want to see West Virginia schedule non-conference?
Personally, it would be close between Maryland and Virginia Tech for that number 2 spot. The reason is because of the history. Maryland is the reason why West Virginia is not in the ACC. A lot of people don't know that. West Virginia was considered, as whenever the ACC was founded, West Virginia was one of the names considered. And then I don't remember the other year when the ACC expanded, West Virginia was considered again. Both times Maryland said, nope, we will leave if you bring in West Virginia. So West Virginia was blackballed both times by Maryland. So that's why that's such a big regional rivalry, even though whenever you say West Virginia, Maryland isn't top priority. But I would put them close to second just because of the historical factor. So Pitt, Virginia Tech, Maryland, Penn State is another one where I would say that's a decent rivalry. And we actually picked them up in the next, it might be next year. It's either next year or a couple of years. We actually do play Penn State. Those are the top 4. Behind that, I would say Louisville was a pretty good rival. We had some really good games with Louisville. I know it was brief whenever we were both in the Big East, but we actually played Louisville more than people realize. Even though we weren't in the same conference for very long, we actually played Louisville for a significant amount of time. So I would put Louisville in there. I think Boston College, like the next tier, if we're talking about the next tier, that starts with Louisville. Then we can go with Syracuse. I hated playing in the Dome. Whenever Syracuse played at West Virginia, that was an easy win, to be honest with you. But whenever West Virginia went to the Dome, even when Syracuse was bad, 9 times out of 10, we lost. I hated it. The years, the odd years, the even years, whatever, every other year that we had to go to the Dome, I hated it. I marked that as a loss, even when they were bad. So Syracuse, even though Miami dominated us, I really liked playing Miami. And when we did beat Miami, it was special. If you Google 96 or 97, I think it was 96, West Virginia, Miami, we were 1 punt from winning that. Getting the punt off. Seriously, guys, Google it. Getting the punt off. Miami blocks the punt and wins the game. Seriously, that's the kind of nonsense that happens to West Virginia. And I think we were undefeated going into that game too.
Lost 10-7. Yes, West Virginia was 3-6-7-0.
We were winning 7-3. I think it was like under 30 seconds for sure. Might have been under 20 seconds. If we would have gotten that punt off, they would have had to, score a Hail Mary to win because we were up 7-3. So more than a field goal. And they had a guy on that special teams. I can't remember his name off the top of my head, but he was known for blocking punts. Known for it. Every stinking game, people planned for him. We didn't plan for him on that particular punt. Came through, blocked it, and recovered it. We lose 10-7. Ridiculous. So I would put Miami in there just because of nonsense like that. Boston College was a decent rival. So there
Good call on your point. Hey, Chris, not to interrupt, but I remember this name. I remember this player now that I see it. Yes, he had 7 career block punts. That was his 8th. He was known for it. Miami speedy defensive back, Tremaine Mack.
Yes. Tremaine Mack, yep. And we, for whatever reason, the one stupid thing not to do, we could have muffed a punt and taken a safety, and that would have been better than that. But no, we don't plan for him. He gets around the corner and blocks the punt, and they recover it. Miami wins 10-7. That play is burned into my head, and it just makes me cringe every stinking time.
Because
that's stuff that you got to know better. And Don Nehlen, the thing is, Don Nehlen wasn't like a young up-and-coming coach at the time. He had 2 undefeated seasons under his belt at that time. And West Virginia, had we gotten past Miami, we would have been favored to have our 3rd undefeated season within a decade. People, think about that. If that block punt hadn't happened, we were favored to go undefeated. 3 undefeated seasons within a decade at West Virginia. At one point, West Virginia was a pretty good football program. Dana Holgorsen has wrecked our football culture, and Neil Brown is trying to rebuild it, but he's having a little bit of trouble. But if you go before Dana Holgorsen, West Virginia is actually a tremendous football program. That was a terrible hire by West Virginia.
A lot of good stuff in the live chat here. And before I get to it, yeah, there's some good things that you're bringing up in regards to Big East football. So the Big East Conference itself, but even before that, when they were all independents, yeah, that was just a great time in college football history. West Virginia, Syracuse, Maryland, Penn State, BC, Virginia Tech. Oh, it was a great era for Pitt, of course. There were tons of different rivalries between all those schools and other ones that were just, they were just intense, great rivalries. The schools were close regionally. It's a great era in college football. Absolutely.
The fan bases were so close that, and people got to remember, this was before the internet era. So there wasn't like looking, things up on the internet or trying to find out information like that. Fan bases were so close and so used to playing each other so much that you would become friends and hang out with the other fan bases. Hey, we play you guys next year. This year it's at our house. You're coming, right? That's how it was back then. Even though you were rivals, you still hung out together and you had fun. And watching the game was, a yearly event. Like, you looked forward to it.
Absolutely. The chat has gone off on all sorts of tangents because of what we brought up about hit the like button, we need you, and then cooking segments. We've got a bunch of people that chimed in on cooking
Where did that come from?
Including Karen would like a cooking segment with me as well. So, hey,
are you a good cook?
Pardon me?
Are you a good cook? That's something I didn't know about.
I'm not a good cook. I don't know how to cook. I'm not a good cook, but I get by. I can follow directions. Therefore, I can make I can get by and more than get by. But yes, we did our 24-hour live stream last year, and I just had to, at one point, I didn't shut it down, but I said, I tried to move the set to where people could see me cooking, but it didn't work. So I got to plan it all out beforehand so we can actually take the set into the kitchen and, have the cooking segment of the 24-hour live stream for everyone to see.
I'm going to cheat real quick, Mark. Usually I don't do this, but since we're having such a great show, and I'm pretty sure that I'm seeing some people that aren't subscribed to my channel. So since you're here, when you get a chance, guys, go over to Golden Blue Dude and hit the subscribe button. I don't change. I'm like this over on my channel as well. So if you were entertained with this, you will be entertained over at Golden Blue Dude. I promise you.
Absolutely.
Sorry, I had to take the opportunity.
John letting everyone know that I keep vampire hours anyway. So please no garlic. Yes, I'm trying to correct that. My excuse is that 19 years at ESPN working until 4:30 in the morning, whatever it was, coming in the door at 5:30 in the morning, and it's been hard to correct that. So that's my excuse, but I'm constantly trying.
All right. So I'm getting the look from the wife, so I got to wrap this up. But there was a question that I wanted to address. It was by John Kelly. He said, if I can ask GBD what % chance WU would have to win the Big 12 this season, that's people don't realize that question is difficult because it's not just based on West Virginia. You got to look at what the other teams in the Big 12 are doing as well. So, having said that, I'm going to give it my best shot, all right? So, I think Baylor is going to be just as good as they were last year. I don't think they're going to be better, just as good. Oklahoma State, same boat. I think Oklahoma is going to be about the same, maybe a little bit worse. So, that's 3 possible contenders. The one dark horse that maybe some people wouldn't have is Kansas State. So I would have Kansas State in there as well. And then West Virginia. Those are the 5 contenders, in my opinion, that have a shot to win the Big 12. I don't think Iowa State's going to be good enough. even though I have Iowa State beating West Virginia. Ames is just a tough place for us to win, all right? I don't think Iowa State's good enough. So we have Baylor, Oklahoma State, Oklahoma, West Virginia, and Kansas State. So West Virginia, and based on our schedule and who I have us losing to, I would give West Virginia a 20-25% chance of winning the Big 12. Does that math check out, by the way? I haven't checked it out.
Less than 25%?
20 to 25%.
20 to 25.
Yeah.
Okay. I think that's pretty reasonable. All right, good stuff. Golden Blue Dude, you can catch him all over the place, pumping out videos, not just on West Virginia, on the landscape of college football, what could be happening next. We saw a week in which the Pac-12 stepped out there and said, hey, we're going to go the Big 12 direction. And I was impressed that they stepped out there and took a little leadership and said, hey, we're going to be the first ones to do this. No divisions. Boom. 1 versus 2. We're going to do it this year. It wasn't one of these, we're going to do this and we got a plan, so we're going to do it in 2025. Nope. This season, right. There's no reason to delay. We're going after it. We're going to do it.
Within minutes of the announcement. And it looks like the Big 12 is not going to pursue divisions because they said that they were going to put it on the back burner depending on if that was passed or not. So Big 12 might not be going to divisions like they were planning to because the rule was in place. Now it's not. I think they're not going to. The ACC is going with that 3-5-5. The SEC has been talking about pods, but Greg Sankey says that's just one of the options. Still might stay with divisions. So we could be looking at just one conference with division within the next 2 years, and we're talking about the Big 10. That's an interesting landscape right there.
All right. Tim and others, and I would love to post your super chat, Tim. Chris has to get out of here, and I don't think I have it in me to do any more of a live show tonight. Sometime on Saturday. I can't. I've got a number of plans in certain directions that we've got to weed through, but at some point, to be looking out for the notification. The notifications are always key. So you know what Chris is posting, what I'm posting, when we're going live. So the notifications, when you subscribe, turn on the bell for the notifications. And I hope to be live at some point on Saturday with a really good topic. And I did.
If I had to vote, best live show we've done so far. We don't even have a special guest on, and I still think this is the best live show we've done so far.
I think the bar's pretty high too. Like I've come away from every live show. You have too, and we've said that was a good one. That was a really good one. We've got it rolling here. You just need to get on board here. Even if you're not a West Virginia fan, subscribe to the West Virginia channel. And
exactly, this is not about being a West Virginia fan. This is about being a college football fan. You can ask Mark. Even on my channel, I'm a West Virginia. How many West Virginia videos do I actually do? Like less than 10%, I would say, right? Yeah, I'd say less.
You probably started high on the West Virginia.
And scale. I figured out nobody wants to see that as far as consistently. So I tapered off.
Yeah, because you're a YouTuber and you're not like a 247 sports beat writer for West Virginia. That's people are looking for recruiting news and all that other stuff. You're an entertainer, so That's the way to go. You love West Virginia, that's your team, but hey, we got to be real. And you love all the college football, so you're going to talk about conference expansion and other things that are going on and deliver your top 25 or top 10 and do all those fun stuff. Absolutely.
See, that's when you can make the promise and be truthful about it. I promise I will talk about your team. Whoever your team is, if it's an FBS, I will talk about them.
I will talk about them too. I just need to get the views to be able to justify me talking about your team. So some people say, hey, give me a Maryland video, and I give it to them, and then there's like 200 views, and I'm like, yeah, I really can't do that.
Yes, and that's exactly what I'm doing. So yes, I'll be doing a Maryland video, but they'll probably be in with let's say maybe a Nebraska will be in with them, a Michigan. You got to beef up the video. So Maryland will be in the video, but Maryland doesn't hold enough weight for them to have just a video on themselves right now. In the future, when the channel gets bigger, then I can probably get some decent views out of them, but right now, not so much.
Okay. Chris, appreciate you being here, and we will do it all again next week. Again, it's Chris and myself, but it's also Travis Kenobi, Justin Walker. They contribute to the channel, do an amazing job. So between the four of us, we are here every Friday night to deliver for all of you. All right, man, you have a great weekend.
You as well, bud. You as well. I'm going to start my preview and prediction videos. I really actually started that today with the West Virginia one. I think that one should count. It basically was. So it is underway. Preview and predictions are underway.
I'm going to take some credit here for educating Karen on college football. Hey,
nice.
I'll take it.
Nice.
We'll catch everybody next week.
He's the guy.
We will, and this is the guy too. We don't have a West Virginia channel without this guy. So, and I'm looking forward to this June 24th, 8 straight hours with Golden Blue Dude. Not me, 8 straight hours, but he's going to be on for 8 straight. And I appreciate the invite. So,
hey, if the views start going down, I'll start juggling if I have to. If the views start going down, I'll start juggling. I don't care. I'll do whatever it takes.
All right, West Virginia Live next Friday, everybody. Mark it down and be back here with a few friends. Bring them along. We'll see you then.